Just days away from the Trump inauguration, The Real News attended an activist meeting in Puente, Arizona to talk to some activists about the incoming administration.
President-elect Donald Trump will be inheriting the deportation machine that has been built by this administration that we currently have and the prior administration. What we can expect to get worse is other breaking record deportations. President Obama has deported close to 3 million, and what we expect is President-elect Donald Trump to deport even more than that, which is horrendous.
Orlando Arenas is a longtime activist who leads Puente Incorporated and the artistic branch of the organization.
What I picture is wide-scale racial profiling, where a lot of Mexican Americans will be affected by it. A lot of Chicanos will be pulled over, will be stopped, and if they have any traffic tickets or any warrants, most definitely they'll be the ones catching the brunt of everything.
The rhetoric that Trump brought, the rhetoric of hate, the rhetoric of racism, since we already know all of that existed in our country, right? He just woke it up and he allowed people to feel comfortable using that rhetoric.
Lady Robledo worked for the campaigns on the DREAM Act, DACA, and the Basta Arpaio initiative. She also organized the migrant community in Arizona and Colorado.
I think when he became a threat was when the words that he was saying, people were actually doing them, right? And so again, it goes back to like when his rhetoric of racism became into actions. So he could say that like immigrants are rapists, right? But then when we started seeing the discrimination and people actually believing that and using that in everyday lives, I think that that's when it became very real.
In 2007, then Sheriff Joe Arpaio first reached an accord with federal immigration agencies called Bill 287G. The law allowed local police departments to partner with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, making Arizona ground zero for anti-immigrant law. In response, Puente was created as a hub for community organizing. Robledo thinks that the Latino community is now better prepared to resist than it was 10 years ago when the first anti-immigrant initiative took hold.
Yeah, we were able to get Sheriff Joe Arpaio out of office, right? And I think the other pieces around that is that the same organizations that were organizing that also passed the minimum wage bill. So there's all these other level of political power that we have now that we didn't have in 2010.
In 2010, Puente organized a number of campaigns and initiatives against another anti-immigrant law known as SB 1070. The law required immigrants to carry documentation at all times. It also transformed schools and hospitals in virtual ICE checkpoints. It was seen by many as a green light for racial profiling. By this point, a very scared Latino community had seen violations of their constitutional and human rights, and this activist came out to organize their communities. This left many lessons for the young activist. Ernesto Lopez thinks Trump will use the deportation machine that Obama put in place.
Well, I think the mechanism is already there to deport people, right? Obama has been able to deport 2 million people, so the mechanism is already there. Now Obama set a bunch of barriers so certain people wouldn't get deported, which supposedly was people that didn't commit violent crimes or were not certain types of criminals, which that hasn't always been true. We've known that people that have committed minor crimes or haven't committed crimes at all have been deported. Right now I think a lot of people, a lot of organizations, even us here, we're kind of really still trying to figure out what can happen. I know what we're planning to do is really like build broader coalitions. Right now it's a little bit easier because everybody's scared and a lot of people, like today we had a gathering with a broad coalition of people, which was like Planned Parenthood, LGBTQ organizations, us, different organizations that haven't really worked together before are kind of working together to stand up against Trump, and not even just Trump, but other legislation. For like example, here in the state, we're expecting a lot of anti-hateful legislation to come through.
Adair Martinez is a Dreamer and DACA recipient student at ASU. He was brought to the U.S. by his parents at a young age. Martinez was detained a few years back in a traffic stop and ended up in deportation procedures which were soon halted by President Obama's priorities policy. The policy streamlined deportations for those with criminal records over other qualified individuals.
I was one of the exceptions where I didn't have a criminal record. Mine were all civil issues that I was facing, and I was there simply because, I had a warrant for arrest for being late on traffic tickets.
Arizona activists have been at the center of key victories. Among them were the passage of DACA and the constitutional defeats of SB 1070 and 287G. Most importantly and directly, they were able to bring about the electoral recalls of two of the oldest, most powerful anti-immigrant enforcers, State Senate President Russell Pierce, who co-authored SB 1070, and Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who ran Maricopa County for 24 straight years. Former Arizona Governor Jane Brewer, an outspoken fan of Trump, was twice defeated in courts by an activist coalition that challenged the denial of driver's licenses to DACA recipients. Ramon Aquino has been part of the organization for 6 years and now uses the creativity of his voice as part of Puente Incorporated.
Obama was trying to calm down like what Bush was started, and I feel like Trump is just, he's just going forward on what Bush was doing. Obama deported more people, than any other president in history. And so like for the migrant community, other people have said that, that things, got better and, improvement and all these, all these things, but the migrant community was continued to be in fear, and really things didn't change for them.
Political power has been a cornerstone of these recent stories of success. We spoke to Arizona State Representative Cesar Chavez.
I believe that we've been targeted, especially here in Arizona, having been ground zero for many anti-immigrant legislation because they feel, the majority feels threatened.
Chavez is well respected in the local Latino community because he himself represents that migrant dream of hard work and success.
I came to this country when I was 3 years old, illegally. And my parents worked extra hard, working 2-3 jobs at a time in order to provide ends meet to their family. I think what we do have to bring to this country is a strong workforce, a workforce that has made this country into what it is today.
Jose Diego Espinoza, the Arizona State Representative for the 19th District.
First of all, it's not economically feasible to have a mass deportation that the president-elect is proposing. And so the Latino buying power is a tremendous vehicle for our economy. And to do any of those things that would disrupt the economies of all our states in general, and may affect our dollar, as well as, again, rein in international exchanges and so forth and so on regarding to the stock market and other aspects of it. So.
Furthermore, he believes President Trump needs to make alliances with local leaders.
And so we hope that he has the opportunity to meet with a lot of our stakeholders within all of our states as well as other countries, and to come to some agreements as far as what is going to be best for our country and internationally.
My hope is that the migrant and Latino community will come out and protest and organize, but we know that fear is very powerful. I'm hoping that we'll be able to break the back of fear in order to take the streets, get organized, and set on some demands and work for those demands.
To silence the people, it requires a lot of violence. In order to move the amount of immigrants that live in the United States, it's going to require a lot of violence.
With just hours away from the beginning of an administration that was elected on the platform of demonizing immigrants, young Arizona activists and Latino families in Phoenix are bracing for the next 4 years.